Go right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm at a most incredible bed and breakfast
Wow.
in Avebury. And walking around the stones today and having a chance to actually live here for a little bit has just been absolutely amazing. And and this is Sara. Sara of Avebury. And she's has an amazing little story about her bed and breakfast and about herself. And Sara, you have been so welcoming to me.
Good.
The
Thank
home
you.
is warm. The guests that are attracted here are amazing, uh, except for me, perhaps.
Mm.
But they've been very nourishing for me as I've gotten to know them, as you have been with food
Thank
and
you.
also
Thank
with your soul's energy. So you have not been here forever. You've a relatively recent
you.
person, and I'm
Yes.
really intrigued by how is it that you've, if I may say this, have come home here.
Right. Okay. Well, I came to Avebury on a course. I had been very interested in the Star Brethren. A lot of people would call them aliens,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Mm-hmm.
had them appearing to me in my meditations. And there was a course running here, and a friend of mine said, "Why don't we go down and do the course?" Which I was interested in. So we came down here, and an awful lot happened to me on that course. But one of the things that made all the difference was the lady who was running it wanted me and the rest of the group to go and visit a crop circle. I had never been in a crop circle before.
And the crop circles are where this is where they exist.
Avebury is where they exist primarily. You
Mm-hmm.
do get them outside the area, but most of them
Mm-hmm.
are actually in Avebury itself.
Mm.
So I wasn't really, to be honest, that interested. I thought they were pretty, I thought they were unusual, but I knew nothing really about them. But anyway, this was part of the schedule. So I went to a crop circle. And
Mm.
when I was in the crop circle, something quite incredible happened to me. A series of events happened to me. But what happened that changed everything was that I found my energetic or my light body spinning at one point in the crop circle, and I found myself feeling as though I was being raised up.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, it felt as though I was standing at the top of some steps, although in reality, of course, I wasn't, but that's how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking into a craft, a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And the beings there were very lovely. I'd had a brief glimpse of them while I'd walked around the crop circle. But they said to me, "Would you like to come in?" And I thought, well, what do you say in a situation like that?
Who would say no
I
to that?
exactly. I just said, "Yes, please."
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and they started talking to me, and we were talking about the farmers. There's been a lot of problems in Avebury with farmers not wanting people to go into the crop circles, and these beautiful beings were telling me that they would be arranging what looked like a series of laser lights coming down, which would be in the air. So rather than forming crop circles on the land, they would be actually arranging a series of these lights
Mm-hmm.
in the air. So it didn't affect anything, but the same effect, which is expansion of consciousness, as when you go into a crop circle, would happen if somebody were to go and stand into these arrangements. Then the nearest I can describe it is it looked like it was raining laser lights of different colours.
Mm-hmm.
And if people stood in them, then it would be the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked, and I said to them, "Is there anything I can do to help?" And they said, "Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we'd like you to talk to people about us,"
Mm-hmm.
which I said I would do. The next day, the lady at the bed and breakfast I was staying at said, "You met some people yesterday." I didn't know that this lady was very psychic. And I said, "Yes, I did." I was thinking, well, that's an interesting phrase, some people. And I said, "But describe them to me." And she described the actual beings that I had seen. And she said, "They're asking if you will move here."
Oh,
So that is what
the invitation.
the invitation came, and
Mm-hmm.
they found me this home. This home is very hard to buy a house in Avebury. There's so few houses actually for sale, and there's not many buildings to even start with. And when I came to this house, I said, this house has been on the market quite some time. I said, well, what's the story? And the lady told me that she had sold it a couple of times, but it had fallen through.
Mm.
And that was the start of my journey here. So yes, it's been less than 2 years, but I took 7 months to do up the house. It was in a bad way.
It was in a bad way.
Which is why I hadn't wanted to buy it in the first place, even though other people had.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put my business on the market, and it just flew. And I was shown that it would fly, because I was thinking, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. By the business, you put the business on the bed and breakfast on the market, and it began to really take off.
It took off immediately.
Wow. Well,
So-
the home is so beautiful, and
Thank
everything
you.
is fresh
Thank you.
and new and elegant, and it's hard for me to believe that it was in bad shape.
It was a Gothic hammer house of horror, black and red throughout.
Say that again. A Gothic hammer.
Gothic hammer house of horror. Black and red throughout, and it
Okay.
was
Oh, that
really
is-
bad.
That's such a great,
But it was the garden.
powerful English way of describing disaster.
But the thing was, when I came in the house, I just thought, oh gosh, this is worse than I thought. But I came and I stood down the bottom of the garden, and I saw the stones at the bottom of the garden, and my feet were rooted, and I couldn't move my feet. And the woman kept coming outside trying to bring me back into the house, but I couldn't move my feet.
Mm.
And after about 10 minutes, I said to her, how much do you really want for this house? Thinking at the same time, I can't believe I'm going to buy this house.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest is history. I just completely
You did it.
did it.
So you mentioned the stones, and what we can't see here
Yeah.
is that over to my left, out in the field, are two of the stones.
Yes, that's Adam and Eve, and they formed
Adam and Eve.
and they formed part of the avenue which led into the main henge. But the other surprise awaiting me was, as you can see, Windmill Hill, which is the original settlement, or felt to be the original settlement, up on the horizon.
Yeah, it's not going to be visible for
Yeah.
the camera, but it's
Okay.
that north. It's north, and we
Well,
walked up there last
That's
night.
right, that's right. And I really had, even though I had never been there and I didn't know anything about it, I had an incredible urge that I needed to go there, and I needed to lie flat on the ground. Now, it was coming up for winter when I moved here, so I didn't really want to do the lying flat on the ground thing in the middle of winter in the mud. So I waited till spring, and I went up there, did exactly that, laid flat on the land. And the joy. And a friend had rung me that night, and I was telling my friend what had happened. And my friend said to me, but Sara, where did you live in London? Which is where I lived prior to here.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, Windmill Hill, just off the Ridgeway.
Wow.
So that was my home for years
So-
in London.
In London,
I
this-
lived
on
Windmill Hill, just off the Ridgeway. And here I am, Windmill Hill, just off the Ridgeway, overlooks my house.
80 miles-ish to the west
Yeah,
and north, and you have the
absolutely.
same spiritual address.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So a lot of things conspired to bring me here, and yeah, my soul feels very happy here.
And that is well said. And thank you so much for sharing your heart. Your
Thank you
soul
for
is
letting me
happy
share.
here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.